brown shoes with a larger foot. I needed some new slippers. And perfect. And this foot is bigger now, and I can feel my toe all the way to the top. That's okay. It looks. Isn't it magnificent? The Arabic calligraphy just blows my mind. But that there were several. There's so many, but this one is. You know this one, right? Allah, and this Muhammad. So it's more than that. I don't know. All I can just identify these two.
I went into we go to Bollywood restaurant a lot.
Me too.
I love that.
Tell me when you're going next time.
We should definitely go. I would love it. And we got to the point we were going there so often. We had a coupon for like a 15% off discount, and that they stopped using the coupon and just said, "Don't worry about the coupon. We'll give you a discount." So then I go in there one day, and I must have had a low shirt on or something, and we saw my tattoo, and the young guy, he's just, "Does that say Kadasa Ala Husarahu on your chest?" I said, "It does." He goes, "Wait a minute." And he goes in the back and he brought everybody out. He cooks in everybody. Look at this. And I showed him the tattoo, and I told him I was into Sufism, and we had it, and it's just 20% off ever since then.
I'm getting a tattoo.
But they're really sweet people.
They are. And the food is so good.
Where is it?
On Ventura Boulevard, the other side.
It's almost Vineland.
Vineland?
Yeah.
Bollywood. It's a little place, but the food is very good. The prices. About how the prices are these days.
Yeah.
Jeez. It's shocking to pay $12 for a sandwich.
Yeah.
Hermanos. I like the shape of that one, the way, because I can't read it, I don't know what it says, so I look at the designs that it makes.
Almost a face.
It's just Allah. Trees were in there. And all of that and even if you spoke Arabic or read Arabic, it's sometimes difficult. Brothers, are we about ready? All right, looks like a little wind. Do you know Nuria Sabato? Yes.
I have a card from her that has it's the famous Kuan Yin that's seated in the statue.
Very.
That's on my wall, so I think of her a lot.
Yeah.
Because of that.
I think we got 3 pages into it or so.
Yeah, we finished the section on the knowledge of destiny, but I'd like to go back and start.
Good.
We can start from the beginning and start discussing from the section on the knowledge of destiny, if you like.
It's fine with me. I don't
Would
mind.
be helpful for
Oh, I totally understand all of that.
Did you pre-read?
I did.
He just has to hold it.
Yeah, it's just, it seemed to me like, did we work on this?
We've done Seth a couple of of times.
Oh, okay.
In the
Well,
blue Fusus we've done, Seth.
yeah, I had notes on it, and so yeah, I did read through to about page 8,
Mm-hmm.
and boy, it was wonderful. It was wonderful again to be in the presence of presence.
So wait for. May we take hands, please? Toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls, form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Amen. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
So last time we did read through the section on the knowledge of destiny, but what I would like to do is start reading from the beginning through to the end of that section and start discussing from the knowledge of destiny, because I think there's a lot more to get from it than we got through last time. Of course, if you want to discuss any of the earliest pages, of course we can start to talk about that. There's no limits. So inspiration, wisdom in a word of Seth. Gifts and requests. Know that there are two kinds of gifts and favours which manifest in the world at the hands of the servants, or by other means. Some of them are gifts of the essence, and some are gifts of the names, and these are distinguished by people of taste. Likewise, some of them are given due to a request for something specific, and some come from a request which is non-specific, while some are given without any request being made, whether they be gifts of the essence or the names. A specific request is like when someone asks, "O Lord, give me such and such," specifying something without thinking of anything else. And a non-specific request is like when someone asks, "O Lord, give me what you know is good for me," without being specific, for every part of my being, be it subtle or dense. The cause of request and the giving of gifts. Those who ask are also of two kinds. One is prompted to ask out of natural impatience, for humankind is created hasty, while the other is impelled to ask because he knows that there are certain affairs with God where it is already known that they cannot be obtained except after a request. And he says, perhaps what we ask of him, glory to him, is of this kind. So his request is a precautionary measure in case this is a possibility. He does not know what is in God's knowledge, nor does he know what is bestowed by his own aptitude for receiving. For it is one of the most abstruse sciences to comprehend at every single moment an individual's aptitude at that moment. If his aptitude had not inclined him to ask, he would not have asked. The highest degree of knowledge of the people of presence who are not knowing in this manner is that they know it at the very moment they are in. For by their presence with God, they know what the real gives them at that moment, and the fact that they do not receive it except through aptitude. They again are of two kinds. One kind knows their aptitude from what they receive, and another kind knows what they receive from their aptitude. The latter are the more complete in what there can be of knowledge of aptitude in Among this kind there are those who ask neither out of impatience nor because it is a possibility that they will receive. Rather, they ask in compliance with God's order, "Call on me, and I shall answer you." And this is the pure servant. For this requester there is no spiritual aspiration attached to what he requests, be it specific or non-specific. Rather, his spiritual will is entirely in compliance and accord with the orders of his master. When his state requires request, he asks for servanthood, and when it requires handing over to God and silence, he falls silent. Thus Job and others were afflicted with trial, but they did not request that God remove what he had afflicted them with. Only at another time did the state require them to ask for the affliction to be lifted, and then God removed it from them. The accelerating or delaying of receiving what is asked for depends upon the measure appointed for it with God. If a request is made at just the right moment for it, the response is swift. But if its time is not yet due, either in this world or until the next, the response is delayed accordingly. That is to say, the receiving of what has been requested, not the immediate response from God, which is, "I am here for you, so understand this." As for the second type of gift, regarding which we said, some are given without any request being made, I mean a request which is articulated, for in actuality, there must always be a request, whether it is expressed in words or through state or aptitude. Likewise, unconditioned, undefined, praise, is not true except in words. In terms of inner meaning, it must be conditioned by one's inner state. That which prompts you to praise God, Allah, is that which is conditioned for you by a divine name, denoting his action or his transcendence. For the aptitude to receive is not something the servant is directly aware of, but he can be aware of the state, for he knows what induces him to act, which is the state he is in. The aptitude is a more hidden requesting. Knowledge of destiny. What prevents some people from asking is only that they know that God has eternally decreed for them. Thus they have made ready their place to receive whatever he wishes, and they have stayed away from their own selves and their personal inclinations. Amongst these there is one who knows that God's knowledge of him in all his states is how he was in the state of establishment of his essential reality, Ein, prior to his physical existence. He knows that God gives him nothing except that knowledge of him which his own essence bestows, and that is how he was in the state of his establishment, and so he knows from where God's knowledge of him comes. There is no category of the people of God that is more elevated and knowing through unveiling than this. For these people comprehend the mystery of destiny. Sir al-Khadar. They are of two kinds. Those who know this mystery in a general way, and those who know it in detail. And the one who knows it in detail is more elevated and complete than the one who only knows generally. For he knows what is in God's knowledge concerning him, either by God himself informing him what knowledge of him is bestowed by his essence, or by there being revealed to him his own established essential reality, ein Alphabeta, and the endless succession of states that flow over it. And this is higher. For in his knowledge of himself, he is in the same place as God's knowledge of him, since the taking of knowledge is from a single source. However, from the side of the servant, it is a special providential favor from God which is predestined to him, arising from the sum of the states of his essence, which the possessor of this unveiling recognizes when God discloses it to him, whatever the states of his essence may be. For it is not within the power of a creature, when God discloses the states of his established essence, according to which the form of existence occurs, that in this state he should have revealed to him the disclosing of the real to these established essences in the state of their non-existence. For they are essential relations without form. According to this, we may say that it is a divine providential blessing, which is destined to the servant through that parity in the imparting of knowledge. Thus God, the Exalted, says, "We shall try you until we know," which is an expression precisely establishing the true spiritual meaning, unlike what is supposed by those who are not of this way. The furthest that the transcendentalist can reach is to say that this apparent temporality in divine knowledge is due to dependence of God upon the creature. This is the most that the theologian can maintain through his intellect on this question. If only he had not affirmed knowledge as additional to the essence and ascribed dependence for it, not for the essence. If only he had not affirmed knowledge as additional to the essence and ascribed dependence for it, not for the essence. By that he distinguishes himself from the true verifier among the people of God, one who possesses real insight and experience.
very first sentence under knowledge of destiny, when it refers to the mahal, thus they have made ready their place, their mahal, to receive whatever Allah wishes. And so stayed away from their own selves and their personal inclinations. Is this mahal, could that be thought of not only as a location, as a place, but can it also be thought of as a state? But, well, states are changeable. When I thought of mahal, I thought, well, what place is ready, the self, but it says away from their personal inclinations. So is it the heart, made ready the heart, made ready the mahal?
You could talk about it as the heart. I don't know that mahal is from the same root as hal.
No, it is. No, it
It
isn't.
doesn't look like it.
No, it isn't. Mahal is like, it can even be a palace. Mahal. So that's why I said, is it used then in the terms of a location of a place?
I think it's every revelation requires a place to receive it,
Okay.
and whether that place be as vast as the universe is, or as small as we make it through our lack of vision.
Yeah.
That's still every revelation requires a place.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And in this case, it's obviously a very good place.
Could that almost be like what we call an akasha, like an accommodation?
Yeah.
Same thing.
I don't think so.
I mean, in Adam, he talks about the blowing of the breath. In Adam, he says that there is no, I forget exactly how he puts it now, but there's no blowing of the breath to give life until a place has been established to receive it. And Adam was the place.
In that sense, the mahal. To use this word. And he says somewhere else, like every locus is a locus or is a place for the divine name, right?
He's not really talking about a physical location.
Right.
Physical locations are reflections of this principle.
In note 16, elsewhere, Ibn Arabi explains that it is impossible for knowledge to be connected to anything other than the situation of the object of knowledge in itself. If anyone brings an argument against God saying, you had precedent knowledge that I would be such and such, so do not take me to task, the true God will say to him, did I not know you as you are? If you were otherwise, I would have known you as you were. This is why he says, until we know. It's interesting for me to read this after, because this time when we were reading it about here, was the first time that in hearing that phrase,
Until we know.
that it was, to me, like, it was like, oh, it's both. It's the limited knowledge with the unlimited knowledge that that the knowing is a unity. Where I think I'd always read that before. It's like the royal we.
Right. Until we know.
Right.
Rather than we, the creature, the creator and the creature.
Yes. So what do you think about that word, until?
Where is it?
That is,
We shall try you until we know.
to me, it relates to the thing. It's like in every moment, the universe is in a new configuration, and so it's like it comes into that particular configuration for the knowledge to manifest. Rather, it's not like somebody has the knowledge and and then it happens. No, it's more that it's the revealing that.
I think it says until because until we know means until our knowledge and that the knowledge of our essence and the states flowing over it are the same. So we, the manifestation is flowing over our essence, and our essence is already known by Allah, but we don't necessarily know our essence. We start out by knowing he said two ways, either, what our capacity is by what's given by our capacity. We start out that way. Then we get to the place where we realize that our essence is the actual reason why we receive what we receive. So then that's the secret of destiny, because destiny is nothing more than the revealing of your true essence and the states that flow over it. So that's why it says that's an unveiling, because to be able to know your true essence and the states that flow over it, that's the same. They get to the place where that's the same knowledge. You and God have the same knowledge, so there is no difference. So that's when there is one source of the knowledge and one knowledge. So this is just a way of explaining the stages that a person goes through to unveiling, and then by saying until we know means until the unveiling is complete, or until the unveiling is what it is, until its destiny is fulfilled, so to speak.
Well, I think that takes care of one side of it, but The reason I asked the question is there's obviously this whole side of things that he's talking about that is outside time. And so what does until mean in the context of the eternal
Extempore.
decree? You know, they do this a lot. I mean, in the Quran and in Ibn Arabi and so on, I mean, in the Hadith, of this use of time to refer to things that are not temporal. You know, like that was a hidden treasure, and I love to be known, so I created. You know, it's like you've got this temporal stuff, and cause and effect type of expression, but it's really not that. It's pointing to something that words can't really describe, because words are temporal in nature, they're sequential and so on. So this thing of we try them until we know, I'm just wondering if anybody had any thoughts on that from a non-temporal standpoint.
I did want to mention though that like the footnote 14 there, we shall try you until we know which of you strives and which are patient, and we shall test your assertions. And just reading that, not trying to infer my own life or my own experience into it, but I really understand now in my life the difference between striving and being patient. And with regards to me as a musician, I was always striving to reach some goal or dream instead of being patient and letting my gifts unfold and opportunities come to me. It was always this chasing something, always this, I gotta get the record deal, I gotta get the management, I gotta get the, you know, and it's just always that. And when I finally just let go of all that and just let the gifts be used and let the opportunities come, I realized how being patient really brings more gifts. It brings the gifts were coming from the patience, not from the striving. The striving was pulling me farther away from the gifts. So that's, I really kind of related to that particular footnote. So in my assertion of that, maybe until, on a temporal level, I guess, would be until we reach a level of understanding that it's beyond the striving and moving into the patient.
Yeah, that's good. Good perspective. So, in the context of God knowing who you are from all eternity, let's say you are this glorious piece of music that endless piece of music that flows in and out of all of these other pieces of music and so on, and this is all seen and known and encompassed in a single vision, without beginning or end. And you are both the place of the revelation of this piece of music, and you are the piece of music, and your whole existence is about coming to know this music and know it as being you. And to see it, to see yourself as God sees you, or to hear this music as God hears it. So, now what does the until we know? So in temporal terms, you are growing in awareness of the nature of the structure of this music, and you kind of get to certain points where maybe something is shown to you, or you get a sense of where the next thing is going, and where the notes are going, how it moves into this key and not that key, and so on. And maybe sometimes you ask to be shown the next part of the music. Sometimes you know what it is and you ask for that specific thing, or sometimes you just say, I'm here, I'm open, just fill me with music. So the knowing is the whole key. Okay? So you knowing yourself as God knows you. And you can look at it from either direction. So what is the trial, and what is the until? And is there an end to the until? Is there a moment when you say, oh, now I see it all?
How can that possibly be? How can that possibly be? If it's like the moth, you get closer and closer and closer, and then it's annihilation, There's only the number. There's no more. But I love the question of knowing ourselves as God knows us. Oh my gosh, it's a great meditation. I don't know why, and it may have nothing to do with this, but the line from this poem just came, where it says, I am jealous of you over you. Do you know which one? I'm jealous of you over you. As long as the sense or idea of being a separate person, separate self, is there, then that's why God would say, I'm jealous of you over you. And yet, I'm sort of the theme of the poem, I've made myself savorous food and you've not tasted me, and I've, been wonderful, and you haven't recognized me, you haven't seen me. Why? What is this? I'm jealous of you. I'm jealous of you over you. I'm getting. But if in that poem, if what it's saying, let us go toward union, right? Let love put its stamp on us, right? Well, at that point, which is a temporal term, right? At that point, then we finally get there. In that union with the beloved, only the beloved exists, right? We will test you until we know. I can't get any farther. I can't go past that because there's only one knower.
it certainly has for me this sense of binding, this until thing. Like it's about closeness and union. But I think we're all very clear about the path towards union, and that what we are doing here. I mean, our whole existence is due to a request and the gift of the word being, so that we can be who we have been from all eternity, and as we were established in eternity. And so I'm just wondering what, from the side of eternity, is this pointing to? This "we shall try you until we know," because the beginning and the end of this, in which there is neither, is outside of time. It has everything to do with time as well. What is the relationship here between the eternal decree, qadar, and destiny, qadar, that brings us closer in our temporal existence?
Could it have something to do with let's say that the until moment is, inshallah, that the creature moving toward itself as God knows it would perforce, mean the removal of the obscurations or the lifting of the veils, on and on and on and on, until the mirror is so clear that the knower knows itself through itself, but it used this other itself to provide it that knowledge of itself. Because, as it says, we get a different perspective from what we have of ourselves, given to of ourselves through another ourselves, ourself. Does it have anything to do with that?
And the other thing too is this: until we will test you until we know. Then on the other side of until we know is no testing. It implies there's no testing after the until, whatever until.
Then the trial is over.
But the thing about it is that I still think is that once you get to the place where I mean, I can't conceive of it, but when your knowledge of yourself is the same as God, that's an until, but it doesn't have to necessarily be in time, because you could have the until here. We could have one entity relating to itself in all these different ways, and the until could be here and something else could be there. In other words, it's a dynamic. There's dynamics going on, and also there's the dynamic of us, because he said earlier, if you keep away from yourself and do this and with no guarantees that anybody's going to do that, maybe so. I guess eventually we do, but I mean we come from one source. We're heading back to the same source, but it doesn't necessarily. I don't even think it. Maybe it doesn't necessarily even have to be in this particular. Well, I don't know. Can you know yourself? I mean, what if after death you haven't known yourself yet? Then you continue after death, still trying to know yourself, and eventually, at some point, that particular but it's because of who what your actual, every person is unique. So every person's path is unique, and every person's experiences are unique. Life is unique. So that's where God is our, we're God's eyes, we're God's hands, we're God's ears, and because we give that, we're a lens that is a unique lens for that experience. So in that way, then we only receive what, the capacity, we only receive what we can get, what our capacity is. And it's because of our essence, our original timeless essence, that determines what we receive, because of no two essences have probably the same capacity. So at some point, whenever that essence, whenever the manifestation all of the states flows over the essence in such a way that it knows itself as God knows itself, then that's the until. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a point in time. It's only a point in time from one perspective. From the other side of the perspective, it's always a point in eternity that's always existing. So there's two ways to look at it. From one side, it is an until, and then the other side, it's an until, but it's not an until in the temporal way. It's an until in a sense of what I said before.
You said something that really popped a visual in my head, and as you were talking, the same visual kind of, they tied in together, but I almost kind of see it as a prism. When you have the main source of light that comes, the white light goes through the prism and then it's refracted out in different colors. And so it's all the same light, but it's just reflected in different directions. And then each of those individual pieces of light have to realize that they're that same source of light, but they have to just move to a different angle or something to be able to see it and to understand that, oh, I'm the red light, the blue light, the green light, and the white light. It's all one light, but it's just being seen from different angles, so it looks this way. And maybe that's kind of, it felt that when I kind of saw that as you were talking about the mirror, and then going through the mirror and seeing yourself as the true image of God, seeing Himself through you. That prism image just kind of hit me, like the light going through the prism and how it breaks apart, and it's separate, but it's the same light. It's just broken into different visualizations of the same one light. And yeah, it kind of seems like that.
I kind of, going back to the music analogy again, I saw it like a symphony that goes through quiet melodic bits, loud banging bits, big climaxes, dark brooding bits, and so on. And if you're going through on this journey through the symphony, which is yourself, it appears like a trial. Lots of highs and lows and so on and so forth. But seen from the whole, it's like this magnificent piece of music that captures the sort of whole of the human experience, of, whatever it is, and that until it seems like, it's so hard to separate the two, the sort of eternal and the temporal, but from the temporal side it appears like a journey, and it appears like trials and things that you learn from, and from the point of view of coming to know your essential unity with true self that, which is none other than the self, that, because the journey just brings you to the point of recognition that you were always there all along anyway, and that, it's always an until. It's always like it's not there's nothing fixed about it. I mean, and even this whole journey, this whole symphony is not a fixed thing. It's just but the until is it's always to me there's a sort of yearning.
The endless
The
until.
endless jam.
You know what? That's kind of like it because the
It's the
symphony.
same as the horizon.
Yes.
Ever receding.
But it's also this sort of yearning thing. I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
Come to me. Let's know each other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do everything I can to make you see who you are to me.
And the symphonies are really cool. Excuse me, Mark.
They're waiting. God's waiting.
But not in a temporal sense.
No, but just in the constant unfolding. As you said, from that place of, it's very playful, and I think your analogy was beautiful. And in moments in my own experience, when I've been able to change, when perspective has changed, and I'm able to just enjoy the music, no matter where it goes, it's like being a composer. And all of a sudden I'm in a special club, friends of God. And that's the gift for me. But it's fleeting. And I go back to, but it's like, you said, the yearning, I'm waiting here, throughout eternity, or however long, or just in the moment, they're all the same. As in calculus, as you approach infinity, u equals 0. So, and it's just, God is just there. Always. Yeah. But that's a beautiful analogy that you gave us down with the music that helped me to kind of move through that. And it gave it an experience. Yeah. Thank you.
I think artistic creation is a good way, always a good way to kind of get a slight handle on it. I mean, it's kind of a crude analogy in many ways because there's more to. I mean, because it's such a deep, multi-dimensional thing. Which music definitely gets very close to. And and a lot of people who write music have talked about how they just seem to be pulling something out of the air. I mean, they don't even know where it comes from. Or like a sculptor who says, "I just ask the block of stone, reveal yourself," and I just release it from the stone.
I've had experiences with music where, because I played music my whole life since I was a baby, and I've had experiences where, and everybody's heard this, but where you say the music's playing you, but it's the thing about once the music takes you over, you know what to play. It's like you're hearing it, and there's only one thing you can really be playing. It's like you hear it. It's like you're hearing something, and then you match what you're hearing to your instrument, or sometimes it's just physical. Like sometimes when the music's played, especially for a drummer, you have to just abandon yourself to your body, and your body just does. It's like dancing. It's like when you dance and you abandon yourself to the music. It's the same with playing music. When you're a musician and you abandon yourself to the music takes over your body, and then the sound. Your body is trained on this particular instrument, and it plays what needs to be played without thinking. And if you try to start thinking about it, it gets in the way and you start stumbling. It's like rocks. Thoughts, when you're playing music, thinking is like stones that you stumble over. And so that's, but another thing I liked about the symphony thing is because symphonies, they are written. I mean, here's a symphony and they hand you a score. and there's, 50 instruments and all their parts are in there. And those instruments have certain parts. And I mean, a French horn can't sound like an English horn, or a viola can't sound like a timpani. So, each instrument has its sound, and you take all of those sounds, and the composer blends that all into a temporal flowing of, playing those instruments, and suddenly, it becomes this massive, beautiful creation that's, totally impossible for in any other respect other than in that combination of having that person have written that music, having those musicians playing that music, having 50 musicians just together as one mind, just playing, and then the audience and how they're experiencing it. It's to sweep you up. So and it is such a beautiful analogy that music is. And didn't Jerome Merchant said in the future music will be the language. Music will be the language.
The religion of the future will be music. Hermilla sometimes would say things like, you've seen the building, but do you know the architect? You've heard the composition, or you've heard the symphony, but do you know the composer?
And that can be true too, like even if you're the trumpet player and you're playing your specific part, and that's kind of how we are in life, we're all playing our specific part, and so you're focused on your part, and you hear all the other things, and you know the cues, and you might know, okay, when the drummer does this, I have to do, but you may never hear the oboe part ever unless you hear a recording back, and then you listen and go, that oboe's playing this beautiful thing. So it's like there's another unfolding when you step back outside of being the trumpet player, and now you're the listener, and then once you can actually be at that level where you can see all the parts and hear all the parts. I used to play with a guy that was the conductor of the Montreal Symphony Orchestra, and I was just amazed at how his ear, how he could be playing live in a rock band, with all these loud things going on, and he could hear just the most minute little thing that just, no, maybe half step this way. It's like, wow. Yeah. But that's from that training and that conditioning of the mind to where it's like, or the opening of the capacity maybe to hear all the parts and not just focus on the individual notes.
And yet, even within the very strict type compositions like that, the composition's never going to be played the same twice.
Yeah. See what you started?
Get the music stuff going.
Your thing about the architect reminded me of this story of Rabia, whose maid one morning went outside and said, "Oh, come outside and see what beauty has been made." And she said, "Come in here and see the maker." Shall we move on? We're about to get to the mirrors.
No.
Can I bring up one more, just short point? Because I thought about this last time, and then again now. We talked a lot about this with regard to specific request and that type of thing. Since I've already thrown my stuff out here a little bit. Like with me, I feel that I have a purpose. My purpose, I feel, is very clear. I feel it's to hopefully inspire others to want to find the divine within themselves and express it as openly and expressively as possible. Because art and expression is what I know, it's what I that's always been my thing, to try to be as bold and expressive as possible in my art. So thinking of like feeling that I know my specific purpose, but then I attach my own understanding of how to approach fulfilling that purpose. Now, then with regards to like specific requests, I really always try to go at everything I do with the idea of really just letting go and letting what come. Whatever gifts are given through this, let it be. But then the analytical knowledge, or the ideas or the concepts of what I have to uphold and give off as an artist and as a individual who stands for this belief and stands for this message and wants to convey that, there's gray area there for me sometimes as to, how do I be specific in asking for those things? And I mean, I can check myself a lot and look at what I'm doing, and you made a really great thing where you said, hearing the music as God hears the music. And that's something I'll try to do more, is kind of look at what I'm putting out, and the fragrance or the essence that I'm giving off is how is God hearing that, and what is it sounding like to him? And then just really being in that knowing or that feeling hopefully will bring me more specific understanding of kind of how to unfold that purpose. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a lot of rambling. But
so is your question that, although for the most part you're asking non-specific requests to just be you are, let the light of your artistic creativity shine through, you have a feeling that there are some specific things you should be doing?
I do, and I want to make sure if I'm being too specific, is that taking away from the revelatory nature of how I want to be used, or is it staying true to the essence of what I've been given as a gift, and I'm following that essence because that's ingrained in me, and that's what I want to, that's the specific way that I have to do it. I don't know, because I was in rock music for years, and really heavy rock music, and I feel that a lot of those frequencies and those sounds and the attitudes could be totally changed and molded in a way where there's not the anger, there's not the aggression, there's not all the dark imagery and things that go with it, and people that are into that can get something through it. But I don't. That's been my own ideology for 10 years now, and I don't know if that's really. Am I just kicking that can down the road because that's the world I come from, and I don't want to let it go, or is it because I'm truly receiving knowledge that I should be using that as the right thing, And that's kind of when I posed some of those things to Zita when I said, I'm this wild dreadlock rock guy, and I want to spread this message, and is it okay to use modern music in that medium to do this? And he told me about the dreadlock Sufis and Lugia or whatever they were at the time.
I think anything is fine so long as it's done with the aim of the largest vision that you can encompass. I think part of what we do is discriminate between what is good or bad, what is useful or not useful, what is, and we rarely know exactly what where something falls in the scale, because our scales are all relative.
Mm-hmm.
And from a certain perspective, everything is permissible, and from another perspective, some things are permissible and some things aren't. I think if you go on a certain, if you've made a determination to go in a certain direction, and you feel that's the right direction for you as far as you're able to see at this particular time, then you put your whole self into it, and you ask for for every bit of help that you can be given to help you move along that path. And there may be times when you do need to ask for something specific, and there may be times when you just ask to be protected from your own ignorance and ask to be moved along the path that's pleasing to him, or any of those things. I mean, you can make a sort of a very specific move in a certain direction and still keep your prayers as open as possible. I mean, don't say, don't pray that that this particular person who you think is on the wrong path, that they hear your music and it changes their life.
Right.
You're kind of messing with stuff there that
Sure.
you don't know about.
Absolutely.
But in terms of saying, help me make what I'm putting out as creative and as beneficial to all beings as possible.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing to do. But and just ask to be continually shown whether you're on the right path or not. Because we have to make choices all the time, and just because everybody else is kind of doing it a different way doesn't mean to say that's the way that you need to do it. You're here to express your own unique being, and if that's blasting out beautiful celebrations of God at 10,000 decibels, so be it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wish become my desire.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that the thing is always to be is to stay awake to what's actually happening, and check yourself to see, is this working? Because you want to learn finer and finer discrimination to where you can actually get real knowledge. So don't just because this looks right now doesn't necessarily mean that in a year or so it's going to.
It's definitely morphed a lot for me. I see where the things that used to appeal to me even a few years ago, I couldn't even listen to now. It just doesn't. The vibration of it just is jarring to me. I listen to so much Indian music. Here it comes home, feels like she's at Bollywood, but it's good.
So gifts of the essence, self-disclosure in the mirror. Now, returning to the subject of divine gifts, let us say that the gifts are either from the essence or from the names. The benefactions, gifts and favours that come from the essence only ever happen through a divine self-revelation, Tajali. And the self-disclosure from the essence only ever comes about in the form of attitude of the one revealed to. Nothing else ever occurs. Thus, the one revealed to never sees anything in the mirror of the real other than his own form. He does not see the real, nor is it possible that he should see him, all the while knowing that he only sees his own form in him. This is like the example of a physical mirror. When you see the form in it, you don't see it, the mirror, at the same time, despite your knowing that you cannot see the forms or your own form except in it. God makes this clear as a symbol, which he provides for his essential self-revelation, so that the one revealed to may know that he did not see him. There is no symbol or likeness closer to vision and self-revelation than this. Try yourself to see the form in the mirror at the same time as seeing the body of the mirror. You will never see them both together. This is so much the case that some of those who have had this perception in the form of mirrors came to the conclusion that the form which is seen lies in between the eye of the viewer and the mirror. That is the most knowledge that they have been capable of attaining. However, the matter is, as we have said, we hold to that, and we have explained this in the Futuhat al-Makiyah. If you have tasted this, you have experienced the utmost, above which there is nothing more regarding the creature. So do not aspire or wear yourself out in trying to progress beyond this point, for there is nothing there at all. And after it, there is nothing but pure non-existence. Here's your mirror in which you see yourself, while you are his mirror in which he sees his names and manifests their properties. And they are no other than himself. So the matter becomes confused and ambiguous. The greatest knowledge of God. Amongst us are those who are not knowing in their knowledge, saying, the inability to grasp comprehension is itself comprehension. And amongst us are those who truly know and do not speak like this, and that is the highest speech. Rather, knowledge makes such a person silent and does not bestow inability. This person is the greatest knower of God, and this knowledge does not happen except for the seal of messengers and the seal of the saints. None of the prophets and messengers contemplate this knowledge except from the light niche of the messenger seal. And none of the saints contemplate it except from the light niche of the saint seal. So much so that none of the messengers can contemplate this when they see it, except from the light niche of the seal of the saints. For envoyship and prophethood, that is to say, the prophethood and envoyship of lawmaking, both come to an end, whereas sainthood never comes to an end. Thus the messengers, due to their being saints, do not contemplate what we have mentioned except from the light niche of the seal of the saints. And how then is it for those saints who are below them in rank? Even though the seal of the saints is subject to regulation due to the religious law which the seal of the messengers brings, that does not impair his station nor contradict what we believe about him. For in one respect he may be at a lower level, while in another respect he may be higher. The point of view which we have expounded here is corroborated by events that can be seen in our own religious way, Shah, where Umar's view regarding the prisoners at the Battle of Badr was preferred, and also concerning the pollination of the palm tree. It is not necessary for the perfect one to have precedence in everything and in every degree. people of knowledge have in view only precedence in levels of knowledge of God. That is where their quest lies. As for happenings that take place in the world, their thoughts are not attached to them. So realize what we have mentioned. Let's pause there for a minute. I shall read the note from note 19, which is about the light niche. The niche in a wall where a lamp is placed gives more light than it does elsewhere. The image given in the Quran is the likeness of his light is as a niche, wherein is a lamp, the lamp in a glass. The glass, as it were, a glittering star kindled from a blessed tree, an olive that is neither of the east nor the west, whose oil would shine even if no fire touched it, light upon light. And the note about prisoners and the palm tree. These two incidents exemplify the superior judgment of others over the Prophet. After the Battle of Badr, about 50 of the Quraysh were captured and most Muslims wanted to ransom them rather than kill them. Sa'd bin Mu'adh, who was appointed to guard them, strongly disapproved of leaving them alive, as did Umar, in case the Quraysh rallied and returned to the fight. However, Abu Bakr wanted the captives to live in the hope they might become believers, and the Prophet inclined to his view. Later in the day, Umar found both the Prophet and Abu Bakr in tears after the following was revealed. It is not for a prophet to hold captives until he has made great slaughter in the land. You would have for yourselves the gains of this world, and God would have for you the hereafter. And God is mighty, wise. However, the revelation also confirmed that the decision to spare the captives had been accepted by God and should not be revoked. As for the fertilization of the date palm, the Prophet said, I think if you leave it, it will increase. However, when the people did not actively pollinate the dates, the yield decreased, causing the Prophet to remark, you are more knowledgeable in the affairs of your world. prophet, sainthood, and seals. The prophet, may God bless him and give him peace, represented prophethood as a wall made of bricks, which was complete, except for a space for one brick, and he himself was that brick. He only saw it, as he said, as one brick missing. As for the seal of saints, he must also have such a vision, so that he sees what the messenger of God was represented as, that he sees in the wall the space for two bricks, one of gold and one of silver. Thus he sees two bricks that are missing from the wall, and by which it is completed, a golden brick and a silver brick. He definitely sees himself fitting exactly into the place of the two bricks. Thus the seal of the saints is these two bricks and completes the wall. The reason why he has to see two bricks is that he follows the law revealed to the seal of the messengers in the exterior, which is the silver brick, and that is his exterior, and those legal regulations in which he follows him, while on the other hand he takes directly from God in his interior mystery what he follows from him in the outward form, because he sees the order as it really is. Certainly he sees it this way, that being the golden brick in the interior. Thus he takes his knowledge from the same mine, Matin, as the angel Gabriel took from when he brought inspiration to the prophet. If you understand what I have alluded to, then you have achieved truly beneficial knowledge. Every single prophet from the time of Adam to the last prophet only took light from the light niche of the seal of the prophets. Even though his earthly existence was delayed, in his reality he was existent. And that is, as he said, I am a prophet, while Adam was between water and earth. All the prophets other than he did not become prophets until they were sent. In the same way, the seal of the saints is a saint while Adam was between water and earth. And all the saints other than he do not become saints until they have attained the condition of sainthood from among the divine characteristics by being qualified by them due to God the Exalted being named the close friend, Al-Wali, and the ever-praised, Al-Hamid. The seal of the envoys is, in respect of his sainthood, is related to the seal of sainthood in the same way that the prophets and envoys are related to him. For he is saint, envoy, and prophet. The seal of the saints is the saint heir, the one who takes directly from the origin and is witness to all the degrees. He is one of the benefactions, Hasanah, of the seal of the envoys, Muhammad, may the blessing of God and peace be upon him, foremost of the community and Lord of the children of Adam, in opening the door of intercession. Thus he specified as a special condition what is general to all. In this special situation, he is at the head of the divine names. The all-compassionate Rahman does not intercede with the avenger, Muntakim, for the people of trial and tribulation until all the intercessors have interceded. And Muhammad, may the blessing of God and peace be upon him, triumphs by virtue of dominion in this special station. Whoever understands the spiritual degrees and stations will not find it difficult to accept such words.
Tony, when it says, as for the seal of the saints, is that referring to Jesus? Peace be upon him?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
And then he talks, I was thrown off a bit by the note because I was thinking, so although Ibn Arabi refers to himself as the seal of Mohammedan sainthood.
Exactly. Right.
And he's talking, the note talks about all that the messenger receives from God is mirrored in the messenger's complete air as a spiritual inheritance. But I believe here he's talking about Jesus.
Does he say, I'm not sure I understand that. I mean, I'm more familiar with the term saint and prophet. And Jesus being the seal of the saints and Muhammad being the seal of the prophets. And Ibn Arabi being the seal of Muhammadan sainthood. But what is envoy in relationship to that? Is that, I never knew that was a separate
It's a
category
messenger.
for this.
Envoy and messenger.
So,
Oh, messenger, like messenger.
An envoy is someone who is sent.
He's a messenger.
Yeah.
But if it says that the envoy has the fulfills the saints, it has the saint, the prophet, so that I'm just not clear as to the title on envoy and what it means, actually. And if he's talking about Muhammad as being an envoy, which I thought,
well, he is the messenger as well as the prophet.
as well as the prophet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, because he references here the seal of the envoys. Muhammad.
It's interesting too that an envoy is also a representative, right? They go as an envoy to represent the one who sent them.
Which is exactly the role of the spiritual envoy, is to represent the one who sent him and deliver the message exactly. As it was given.
Precisely as it
So
was.
a prophet, in addition to the envoy responsibilities, is one who brings a new revelation,
Mhm.
brings a new religion, or kind of reanimating the religion, to people who have forgotten it. A messenger brings specific news from God at specific times, and so.
And regulations. Like thou shalt and thou shalt not.
The prophets are the ones who bring the regulations.
Yes.
Yeah, the prophets were like a lawgiver.
That's one of their functions.
Sorry?
That's one of their functions.
Right. It's interesting to say that prophethood's come to an end, but say it doesn't.
one religion gets superseded by another religion. In a way, that's the argument that the followers of Islam have against the Christians and the Jews was their failure to recognize the evolution of their religion into a new form. And but let's see. Meant to be the way it occurred. But there is Jesus came to expand on and in a sense replace the revelation of Moses, and the prophet came to synthesize the two and unite those two poles.
And the people who stay, or if there's still one or the other along the trail, are the people who didn't accept the new change, so to speak. They stayed in the old. Like the Jews, we were at the Interfaith Conference, and it was really interesting because there was Christians, Jews, and Muslims, and I forget what else, but I think that was the only three. Tasnim asked, what can you tell us what each religion thinks of the second coming? And the Jews said, well, we don't think that we don't recognize Jesus as the Messiah. And of course the Christians said yes, they had that. And then the Muslim came up and he said, yeah, we believe in the second coming too. So out of all of the religions, the Jews didn't believe in the second coming. And as it progressed on,
Because they didn't believe in the first coming.
Yeah, the first
right,
one,
they
that's
didn't
it.
believe in the first coming.
It was an antecedent.
No, but I mean, obviously, there's still a great deal still left to unfold in each of those earlier religions. So it's not like they're all wrong. But I mean, that is the nature of prophecy, is that it has a term limit, so to speak.
They bring you a new dispensation.
More like an inclusive. It includes the old, but expands it bigger. Includes it and expands it.
I mean, because other than the 6 major religions, I mean, there have been many prophets in many other, bring in other religions that we know little about.
Maybe nothing about gone, except don't exist anymore. And that thing where it says, going from the niche, the light niche of the sea, in a sense that means, is that a symbol, so to speak, for the knowledge, the new knowledge and revelation that a particular state brings is the light of that state within that niche, in the niche of that state. That'd be like understanding what Jesus brought would be the light niche of, well, no, it's because it's all the saints, right? I mean, it's a light niche of all the saints and light niche of all the prophets. So,
But, I mean, what he's saying is that, Jesus was also a prophet.
Right.
But saying all of the prophets derive their prophethood from the prophet.
From that line.
Because he is the source, he's the light niche of prophecy. And just as Jesus is the light niche of sainthood, all saints do not come to sainthood except by imbibing from his light. Because
Knowingly or unknowingly.
And what?
Knowingly or unknowingly.
Well, was it in Ibn Arabi's biographies? Didn't he say that Jesus was his first teacher? That was his first teacher that taught him.
Well, his two closest teachers were Moses and Jesus.
Jesus and Moses. Yeah.
I don't know what order
Yeah.
they were in, I can't remember, but he was specifically taught by both of them.
This may be slightly askew from the subject, but when I was thinking about this earlier, and this just came back. I grew up in a Christian home, so I know from the Christianity standpoint what the phrase accepting God or accepting Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior means in that context. But would this kind of be what it means in an esoteric sense? With that kind of Jesus being the light in the niche, if you want to look at it from that, I don't want to say limited view, but because that's expansive view, but you're saying it's the light is beyond Jesus, and Jesus is part of that recognizing of the light that fills the niche.
He does say that Jesus takes directly from the source, from the origin. So he's just the pure receptacle through which that divine light of sainthood, the wali, manifests in the world. I mean, it's like he said, nobody comes to the Father except through me. And it doesn't mean that doesn't mean in the sort of narrow Christian sense that you have to believe in Jesus, which means that
There's no
all
other way
the
to get
other
there.
religions
It's
are
the
not.
only
See,
way.
I got a handle on that part. That part I understand, but then it's like when you explain things to people, and I talk to I have a lot of people in my family and things that I try to explain what I'm into and that kind of thing. And just today, someone said, I agree with everything you're saying, but as long as Jesus Christ is your personal Lord and Savior. I don't know what that means to me anymore. I don't know what that means because in an esoteric sense, I don't know what that means. I know what it means from Christianity standpoint, accepting Christ as your Savior and trying to be like Christ and live as Christ and going to the Father through the Son in that traditional sense. But yeah, it just struck me if this was kind of like that, if it might answer my question or not. I don't know.
A couple of things that struck me as you were speaking. A bunch of stuff. That process that I tried to describe earlier about the dropping of veils and obscurations and all of that, so that it becomes thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. In the words attributed to Jesus, peace be upon him, we are told that he said, "I am in the Father, and the Father is in me." It's like, it's like this, But one other point about the light verse in the Quran, it says, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. It is as if, right? So, but preceding the quote here, the first part of the surah is, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. And that light is likened to, so we can try to understand this light as if it's in a niche, and it's encased in a glass, in a globe, and and then it describes the oil, and it's not from here or there. Every prophet, every messenger, every being is connected to that light. That's what Mershon calls the all-pervading. There's no place where it is not. The all-pervading light. So I think, just for myself, I don't know your situation, but for myself, I just say yes. Yes. To just say yes. You know, there's no walls or separations. You understand from your understanding, and you say your yes is true, and their yes is true, and what more can be said? You know, and Allah draws whom He wills. Another way of understanding that, for me, it really helped me a lot. Actually, when I heard this old Quaker lady from the abode, who used to live at the abode, right? But it wasn't the abode. It was a Quaker community, or a Shaker community, Shaker community. And they were celibate. This is a documentary I saw, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. The last survivors of the Shakers were like these two little old 98-year-old women. And the interviewer was asking them, you know, you're so old, how can you take care of this place, you know? He said, oh, we have people, many people come, they come and spend the summers here, and they help with the harvesting the garden and everything. And he says, well, yeah, but it gets cold and it snows, and what happens? He said, well, a lot of them leave, and we're just left here, you know. And he says, well, doesn't that concern you? Don't you want more people to come, or, you know, don't you want them to stay, or? And she says, well, we didn't call them, you know, we didn't bring them, and so they come and they go at God's as God pleases. And I went, oh, yeah. God brings people through the door and takes them out the door, and I just sit here. You know, it's like, Allah, whatever name you want to use, that's a little inkling that I have of whatever it might mean to be in a condition or getting near, or just sort of looking at least it's in your eyesight, even if you're not touching it yet, but whatever that thing called surrender means. You know, it's like, it's not in my hands, it's not up to me. Allah, that, has got it all in charge, you know, got it all. It's not my call. You know, unless something directly is right in front of me, and I know that's my call. And if people argue with us, when one says, but Islam, connected to the name Salam, is a bringer of peace, a carrier of peace, a representative of peace. You go, oh yeah, blah, 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 all of that stuff happens. Well, what we're not talking about is we're talking about the externals. We're not talking about the condition of the mu'min, of the one who attempts to surrender. And in even the smallest act of surrender, in my own experience, little things where I just like, okay, you know, but not just like turn away from, but rather allow that it is okay. The minute I've done that, I have felt a lot freer and a lot lighter, and it's like, it's off my shoulders. It's not a fight anymore. So that in surrendering what I was so attached to, I gain more peace. That's just, you know, sorry, I went off track.
No, that's very, very good stuff. I mean, the thing that Ibn Arabi says is that all beliefs are correct.
Yeah.
You know, insofar as the only object of belief is Allah. You can't believe in anything else. But the man of wisdom is not tied to any one single form or belief, because he's wise unto himself, and he is the ground. He is the source of all belief. He's the ground of all beliefs, because he sees God in every form, and in every form of belief. And I think it's exactly what Tasnim said, is that for you, Jesus, to say, may mean something completely different than what it means to this other person. I mean, it's like talking about, discuss about, do you believe in God? It's, people talk about it as if it's, do you believe in a tree or a cat?
Right.
It's just,
You believe that God?
you can't have this conversation unless you know what each person means by this, because it's just too big to contain in something kind of concrete. And people say they don't believe in God. I wouldn't believe in the God they don't believe in either.
That's what Nikon said, by the way.
Right.
He answered just as you did. He said, I don't believe in that God either, when this person was arguing with him.
Did you say that?
Hazrat Nikon.
Oh.
Yeah.
But to understand who Jesus really is, that's deep stuff, and that's definitely worth pursuing to understand what that reality is. Just as to understand the reality of Muhammad is getting close to understanding who you are. He who knows himself knows his Lord. And so, once you get away from thinking of Jesus as a person who's in a physical body or robes up in a cloud or whatever it might be, you can, it's not a question of belief, it's a question of knowledge and surrender, and just because how can you know such being, such reality? Surrender and God willing, be able to drink from that light also. But I think there's quite a lot more to say about the relationship between these two, between the prophet and the saint and the bricks. But we'll maybe pick it up next time. The chapter in the Fusus of Jesus is one of my favorites. It's absolutely exquisite, and he talks about the passage in the Quran where God is questioning Jesus if he ever told his people that he was the Son of God, and it's absolutely exquisite. The subtlety and delicacy of this conversation that goes on, and how in Arabi talks about it. I think we'll get to it by next Christmas.
How many translations has Stephen or the others have they done? Are there others after Seth?
Oh yes, they've done that. I think they're about halfway through. I think they've done maybe 10, 12, maybe close to halfway, I think. There's 28 in all.
But there was not that many of the blue.
No, he didn't include all of them, and even some of the chapters were slightly abbreviated. Most of them were, but most of the ones he put in there were the complete chapter, but some of them, like Noah, were abbreviated. But I think there were only about half of them in the briefs.
I thought there was like
16.
16.
But yes, they
But not all that many. 28, not the whole 28.
Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa sallim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Lord, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the Lord of heaven and earth, open our hearts that we may hear thy voice, which constantly cometh from within. Disclose to us thy divine light, which is hidden in our souls, that we may know and understand life better. Most merciful and compassionate God, give us thy great goodness. Teach us thy loving forgiveness. Raise us above the distinctions and differences which divide us. Send us the peace of thy divine Spirit, and unite us all in thy perfect being. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of God be with you. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of God be with you. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatullah. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatullah. Love it. Chew over more. You know, you read it once and you